What's up, everybody? A Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on the Space Engineers Let's Build series. We're picking things up again with the Shadowbound capital vessel, where we left off in the last episode. And I got an overwhelmingly one-sided reaction to the two different hull types that I laid out here, which I have to admit wasn't really that surprising to me. I kind of expected that, if I'm being honest. Frankly, just because I do agree with everyone. I think this one looks a lot better. So yeah. We've got a little bit of clutter here that we're going to get rid of, but particularly this one's going to go, because we really don't need it. Looks like I actually have a little floating random block out here, too. I don't know where that came from. But so yeah, so this episode, we are going to take this shape right here and probably start working on the lower section of the build, because then once we get the lower area done and framed in, we'll be able to work our way around and start working on the back and kind of completely close it in, and then we can actually get this build really going, because the hull is what's taken me the longest to try and design. The rest of it probably shouldn't take that long, so let's jump right in. Alrighty, so we have our copy up here that we're going to be working on. So, for those of you that remember the 3D sketch that I threw out there, there's a couple things I wanted to address. Some people had mentioned something about the design a little bit. I forget exactly what all of them were, but one of them was about thrusters. I'm thinking if you guys remember the curved frame, the curved ring on the back side had the glass side in it. I'd like that to be at least 2 floors, like an upstairs and a downstairs in terms of height, like enough room that I can put two floors in there. So the majority of air quote living space is going to go there. It's going to go in this ring, where it's going to be like, I don't know, the galley, the blah 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 blah. You know, all the places that your living space is going to be, including the captain's cabin and all that. As for command, I'm probably going to put the command bridge area right here. And as for, I don't know, it's hard working with large grids because the blocks are so big, but I think we'll probably end up right about here, going out to somewhere in this area, bringing it back over here, and then kind of running along this. I'd like to leave a little bit of a gap, maybe a 1-block gap, so that you can from the outside see where the command bridge starts and stops and where the rest of the hull keeps going. But yeah, I need it to be fairly large so that we have enough space to work with. Then, so again, if you recall from the sketch, what ends up happening on this hull is we've got kind of this Star Destroyer-esque design on the front, but then it's going to come out somewhere about here-ish, not too far, but a little bit, and then it's going to curve inward, and then it's going to curve back out, and then it's going to come back in. In this space, in my 3D render I did, I didn't really have a purpose for it. I was thinking like a big thruster area, jump drive, something, I don't know. And then there was these smaller angled stick-type shapes coming out. Those are going to be, air quote, the hyperdrive of the ship in terms of the lore, but it might be regular thrusters and a jump drive. I haven't figured that out. We'll have to play around with it. But in the sides here, what I may end up doing is putting like a shuttle bay or something for smaller fighters and drones. It won't be like, you know, this ship is a capital vessel, but I don't see it being a carrier where like, oh, you could take a Corvette and park it in the middle of it. Now, we might be able to do that. We could maybe put a lower hangar on the hull for like 1 Corvette, and then you got fighter hangars in the side. That might be kind of cool. We'll see where it goes. Let me know what you guys think about that idea. But I'm thinking maybe fighter hangars out the side, or drones or whatever. Thrusters, but primarily like the jump drives in these areas that will protrude out. And then in the inner part here, all of this part is going to be the guts. This is going to be where our reactors, gyroscopes, ore processing, storage, thrusters, etc. All of your utility stuff is going to go in here. Now, if we cut out a center and make a hull, that's one thing. And of course, we'll have an access point to the bridge and 2 access points on the side for the ring area. And I just had an idea. If we connect that ring and bring it down into here, if we do it right, the connection point could actually be like there's a floor right on this level that's maybe dips down and you can't see it. It's like you know, 1 to 2 blocks tall, and then you've got like a floor here that's just maybe a CIC, not quite the main bridge. Oh, maybe a battle bridge. That would be kind of cool. And then from there, it could connect to the ring and go up normally, but maybe we'll do another floor down where the ring connects from the battle bridge that might be kind of like a suspended hanging room with glass, and it would let you look off into the fighter and the Corvette hangar. That's a cool idea. I think I like that. But for now, we're going to focus on the bottom. Now, we might want to take into account the idea of a Corvette hangar, possibly. I don't know. We may have to take that into account as we're doing this. I'm not really sure. First of all, we're just going to design the hull like we did up here, and then go from there. So the first thing I need to do is figure out the angle of how we want to do this. So what I'm going to do is bring it out by 1. Do I not have mirror mode on? I guess I don't. That's weird. I guess you have to do it every time you boot up. Alright, so... Well, actually, I don't... we're going to have to take this up. So we're going to do it like this, I guess. Because this red spot was supposed to be kind of the start and stop point. Yeah, we might have to do it that way to keep everything working correctly. So let's do it like that. I'm going to play around for a minute and see if I can come up with an angle I like. It should kind of match this, but it might be a little bit more steep or shallow, depending on how I want to do it. In fact, I might do a little bit of trickery, but I might cut this top part. Ooh, I like that. All right, so let me try this. I was going to cut this out. However, some people may find this useful if they never thought about it before. So, what I'd like to do... See, this is the hard part with the bottom. Because... Well, actually, it might not be. All I really need is from this point before it starts tapering off. So, since this is a copy, what I'm actually going to do is cut it about here. We're going to take this block and slice it there, and then I'm going to take from this point and I'm going to bring it in and down. Slice it like that. And then this should just detach. There we go. Now from here, we're going to remove all of this. Actually, hold on. I'm not going to do that yet. What I'm actually going to do is cut it from here. So we're going to take these nubs off. And then we'll have to fly out this way, I think. Hello? What are you doing? What are you doing, blocks? Sometimes I really do hate this game. Like that. And we'll just clean this up, I guess. And in case it wasn't obvious what I'm doing, what I'm thinking I'm going to try is... I'm going to try and actually slice this top part and then merge it, is what I'm thinking. So for that we need to snip. Come on. That. And we'll take this up like so. That should kind of clear it up. Now this I can cut and remove. And we're left with just this bottom curve section. So what I'm going to try... Now this is the tricky part, because it's not really... it's not really in the same... connection, same grid, so I can't just connect it and paste it. So what I'm probably going to have to do is merge it. So for now, I'm just going to get it roughly in the right spot. So kind of centered, kind of at the right elevation. But I will have to watch the collision box, unfortunately. And I don't know if this will work or not, but I'm going to try it. So let me... I'm going to make a copy of this. I'm a copy freak. That I try and make sure that I always have copies of everything. Alright, so from here, what we're gonna do, slice that there, and I don't know, well, I can probably just mimic this, so we're just gonna take it down about here and get rid of that. That gives us our height point right there. So what we're gonna do is grab a merge block. And actually this part's fairly straightforward, so I'm gonna cut it so if it doesn't work we don't waste too much time. But basically all I'm gonna do is grab a couple of merge blocks here, put a couple basically in the same place on this section here, and then get some like a reactor, thrusters, gyroscope, flight seat, stuff like that, and go from there. Now the only thing is, I think this needs to be flush. So if I want it flush with this, then I need to inset here. So I don't actually know if I need this or not. We'll leave it there for now. And yeah, the rest of it's fairly straightforward. Well, this is yielding some interesting results, and it might save me a buttload of time. So yeah, this actually worked a lot better than I expected it to. However, I am noticing that my initial projection for the curve, if I want to use this way, may have been a little bit tall. So if I want to keep this thing going, I actually could. Like, it really wouldn't be impossible, because I'd basically just keep doing this pattern all the way down the bottom, and it would be fine. I wouldn't have to do what I did up on the top, which is where the side panel gets more shallow than the edge. I could just run this as if it was that way the whole time. But if I do that, I've got to raise it a couple blocks. By the looks of things, about 3? 4? 3. Oh, I'm getting good at this. So, if I was going to do it that way, which I might, let's actually give it a shot. Well, tell you what, let's go ahead and copy this first. I was going to say, I was like, wait a minute. Being the copy fanatic that I am. Did that get pasted upside down? It did. Let's fix that. Oh, it's because of the... oh, no. I was going to say it's because of the flight seat, but nope. That wouldn't have done that, because the flight seat's actually facing the other way. That's really weird. That's very odd. Wait. What happened? Now it's... I don't know what's happening. I thought it was upside down. Screw it. I know that's the right direction. We're just pacing it that way. Okay. So we'll leave that there. And we'll play around with this one now. So let's go... Alright, so if we need this block to be 3 up, we need 1, 2, 3. So the merge blocks need to be up here? right? So if we get rid of these, 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. I think that'll work. Oop. Okay, that works. And then we'll get rid of all of that and replace that there. So that gives us that. Alright, let's try this again now. So we should just be able to fly up a bit. Now I have to be kind of careful with this because I believe block damage is actually on. I think, well, I don't know if I did that or if I just did thruster damage. I can't remember. Come on. Alright, cool. We snapped. Interesting. That actually has a much better, that actually had a much better result than I really thought it was going to. We're going to leave it like that for now. And start playing around with this here. Now let me move my lighting a little bit. So we get a better view. So, yeah, as you can see here... Well, I don't actually know if I can do that. I might have to use the other one now that I'm looking at it, because this does taper and it does stop. And it's not far enough along. We're just going to end up doing a straight line all the way down. I don't know if that'll work or not. So, once again, we'll keep that one. And let's start with this guy. But what I need to figure out is exactly how much more or how many more lines I need before I'm going to run into anything. So I'm going to play around with this one, but I don't think this is even going to be enough. I might actually have to raise it up as opposed to going down, because we can follow this pattern, like I said before, and we're just going to get more narrow as we go, but it keeps going down a block every row. And if I do that, I'm going to run out of rows. So, yeah, let me play around with this a minute and see what I come up with. Okay, so a bit of a progress update here. I did move it around a little bit. I moved it up 1, right? And, oh, this is the top. It's hard to tell now. I moved it up 1. And I ended up with this. Now, I have to say, I'm not entirely sure that I'm super duper thrilled with this. I'm trying to get the light where I want it. Yeah, that'll do. Because if you look at it from the side, let's go this way and look at it right side up. The top kind of tapers and then tapers a little less and levels off. This kind of creates this, like, I don't know, jagged effect, where it's like it's going and then it just kind of juts out because the taper is not as similar as the top. The top part here, we have a slight taper and then it goes a little bit more drastic. This one is more like shallow and then deep again. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this one, which I was working on before, and now I need to move the light again. Yeah, that'll work. So what I was working on with this one was trying to essentially do what I did on the top nose before we got to the part where we tapered off. So I was kind of just following the shape. Now where I messed up was I had the ramp a little further out, so I started doing this stuff. And it starts taking on a little different of a shape. So what I'm going to try and do is something a little bit different, where we're just going to match the ramps to the edge marks. And it's like skip 2, match at the edge mark, skip 2, match at the edge mark, that kind of thing. And I'm just going to walk it up and see if I can do a more consistent taper and see if I like that better. So let me work on that. It should basically come out looking like this on the bottom. The other thing that this would do is this one has a point where it stops tapering and then it goes back like the top did. But if we do it this way, it'll get wider and wider and wider, and then when we want, wherever we want to put the Corvette hanger, we'd have a little bit more room to work with, and we wouldn't need to disturb very much of the next ramp and stuff. So I think it'll end up looking better, but we're gonna find out. Whew. Okay, so I think I'm kind of done at this point. If for no other reason than for the sake of my own sanity. You'd be you'd be amazed at how mind-numbing placing all these blocks can be. So I ended up with 3 different takes on the lower hull. Now, mind you, this is the lower. This one's hard to tell because it's so similar to the upper hull. So bear that in mind. They are very similar. But this is the bottom, trust me. Now, the reasoning behind these are 3 different things. So let me go over them. The first one is what we started with, which was cutting the top slope and kind of blending it into the bottom, which worked, but it did create a very sharp angle. So the bottom of the ship has a lot lighter taper, and then it just kind of shoots out, which it works, but it's not entirely ideal. Personally, I think I'm going, leaning, not that I'm going with it, but I'm leaning with this one because it's a consistent taper all the way down. Which essentially is almost like what I did on the top layer last episode, when I did a left and a right. The difference being that I spaced it out every 2. So the angle is much less sharp. It still goes a little bit taller than I probably initially wanted it to go, but I think it's a little bit better than this one because you can even tell from this one how it goes like this, and then it kind of matches this second one, whereas the second one kind of keeps this angle all the way up to the top. The other reason I like this one is, as I said, if we decided to put a Corvette hangar somewhere, let's just say we decided to go, I don't know, here, we've got at least a, 8 block space in length before we even have to think about cutting into another ramp. And if we do cut into even a couple layers, we can go 20-some blocks wide and only lose a couple of layers and only have to play around with the shape a little bit to get it to line up. And actually, if I did that, what I think I would do, hypothetically speaking, would be, let's say, I don't know, let's just make a mark there and go up and make a mark, I don't know. This isn't going to probably be in line, but like there, right? No way. No. There's no way I lined it up right. Holy crap, I lined it up right. Didn't I? No, I'm 1 block off. 1 block off. Not bad, though. I'm getting better with my eyeball. There. First shot. Got it. Bam. So let's say that was going to be our hangar. Right? What I would probably end up doing is... Actually, this part would probably be a little trickier than up there, but if we went up here, I would probably just bring this out on this outer edge and do some kind of, like using this kind of a block or the ramps or something, do some kind of like inset type thing, to where it created kind of a bevel kind of thing, is probably how I would deal with that, but, you know, hypothetically, actually, I might leave that there, I'm gonna be honest, because that really wasn't a bad spot. And that would make a fairly decent hangar. Honestly, for eyeball, I think that's pretty great. We could move it up 1, maybe, but overall, though, if I was gonna put a hangar there, that wouldn't make a bad size Corvette hangar. I mean... It's not gigantic, but neither is a Corvette-sized ship. So, yeah. The only thing there would be, could we close it? Because I'm still not that great with the hangar doors in terms of spacing and all that kind of stuff. Let's see, what hotbar was that? I mean, that only goes out a couple of blocks. That only goes out to there. So that would be quite the open hangar door. Now, I could go a Star Destroyer route of just leaving it open. I mean, technically, if you want to get technical... Dagnabbit, I filled it up again, didn't I? If you want to get technical, the Star Destroyer hangars could actually seal up, if my understanding is correct, but unless you guys know of a way to do stuff like that, like to make a really long hangar door, I do not. A door like this, it's like with only, the hangar door is only covering 3 blocks. I mean, even if you put ones here going this way and these going, you're still going to have a huge hole in the center. So, I mean, if you guys know of a way to do that, let me know. I'm trying to keep this ship as vanilla as possible. I know there's a bunch of mods and stuff. The reason I say that is because it's my hope that eventually, when I'm done with this build, I'm planning, hence it being Shadowbound. That doesn't mean anything to you guys right now, but I'm going to end up using it in Dog Squad, is the purpose of this ship being built. So I'd like to keep it as vanilla as possible so that when I make my Machinima episodes, I don't have to worry about getting permissions from mod authors and things like that. 1 or 2, not a big deal, especially if I've already gotten pre-approval from some of them, but just rough draft, trying to make sure that I keep it as vanilla as possible. So a vanilla hangar door this size... I don't know. I might just have to keep that as like a depressurized area. I don't know. The third option was this guy. Because it hit me, if you don't really need it to be tapered, or if you don't want it to be that steep or that tall, just flatten it, type of thing. And I gotta admit, looking at it from the top down, and not looking up from it like upside down, it ain't too bad. That's not too shabby. So it really just depends on how much of a slope do we want. Do we want any slope? Do we want it to be kind of flat on the bottom? Do you want it to be kind of tapered in all the directions? Blah, 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 blah. I think... Here, let me get stupid sunlight. I can't ever get it in the spot that I want it. Let's try something like this. I want it a little bit more on the bottom than the top. So let's try something like that. Right there. That should be pretty good for you guys to be able to see it. Well, I thought so. It's because they're in shadow, really. But I don't think I like this one. It's just too sharp. It makes it kind of look like a beak, like the nose is bent. I think I'm leaning towards this second one, because it still kind of keeps a flatter shape, but it still has a taper line. And the other option would be the flat bottom one. The only reason, let's take this back down a little bit. The only reason that I actually do like this first one still is because it kind of keeps a curved shape. It kind of keeps this almost hexagonal, I think, would be the octagonal, hexagonal, something like that. I guess it's octagonal, because there's 2 on the top. But anyways, it keeps this kind of rounded edge. This one doesn't really. It's like bevel over, straight down, straight over kind of thing. And then obviously this one is the extreme of that case. So it's a little mixed, but I honestly think I like the second one the best so far. But honestly, looking at it from the other angle, the flat bottom one isn't too bad either. That could actually work. We have a little bit more space, as you can see here, because it lines up 1 block below our midpoint. This one, there's almost a whole nother ship type of thing. Actually, it's kind of funny. I intended the bottom to be shorter than the top, but it seems to have turned out the other way on this one. This one, the bottom is actually longer. So from the back profile, I almost like this one, I gotta admit. I didn't think I would, but I kind of like the flat bottom one. I like this. I just don't like the beak. The beak nose is killing me. Because it looks cool on the bottom, and then it just kind of foot and yoink and like kind of sticks out. And if I raise this any lower, I know. If I raised this any lower, I know. If I lowered this any further, there, you happy? What I said made sense, it's just not the normal way you'd say. Moving on. If I lowered this any further, I feel like I'd run into the issue with this one over here, where the bottom is significantly shorter, or I mean taller, than the top part. It might even be the same. You know. So, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, technically the side is taller, but the top part is actually lower on this one over here. I don't know. And I guess if I really got picky, if I really got nitpicky, I could do something in between here. Because one thing that I've learned from this episode, from trying this out, is you can control the taper of this kind of thing by how many steps you do. For example, I did every 2, other than the nose. The nose has a 1-to-1, like it steps up every point. But then out here, it was like, and what I mean by every 2, in case it wasn't apparent, is we have stepped up here. So we followed this for 2 ramps. 2 ramps of the side paneling. And then on the 3rd, we jump up another layer by putting a ramp here. So we put a ramp on, right behind, right there. We put a ramp right behind the 2nd side ramp, and then it raises it up a level. So again, 1, 2, and behind, I did it a little different there. Oops. But yeah, you get the point. 1, 2, and then a step up. 1, 2, step up. 1, 2, step up, etc., and so on. So, if we like this shape, we don't like the flat bottom, it's too flat. Because there's nothing. It's just flat. There's nothing there. So if we decide, you know, I like the flat bottom, but it's too flat, but I don't think this one's short enough, we could do a 3-step or even a 4, where you go 3 or 4 side ramps before you raise it up 1, 3 or 4, raise it up 1, and it could fix a little bit of this height issue with the Corvette hangar altogether, because as you can see, if we started here and we went 1, 2, 3, 4, then raised it up at that point right there, we could bring this in a little bit, but we'd have a hangar that's on all one level. And then it would only step up a couple of times before the taper would hit the end of the build. In truth, now that I say it out loud, it's probably what I'll end up doing. I'll probably copy this, and I don't know, maybe cut the top off or something, and then just kind of go... I'm thinking 4. I think if I reduced it by half, because I did 2, so if I did a 4-step, then it would lower it by half the size, or half the height. So I'm kind of thinking that. That's personally what I'm leaning towards, but let's say mirror, uniform taper, and flat bottom. That's what I'm going to call these. So let me know what you guys think in the comments on which one you'd prefer, and let me know what you think about maybe taking this uniform one, but then lowering or increasing the step count, so it's a much more shallow taper. Let me know what you think about that. But I think that's going to do it for us for this episode. We're going to wrap things up here. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.